So we are here to talk about long-term partnerships in an ever-changing insurance market. So thank you so much. Can you just tell us how long-term partnerships have evolved through market changes that we've seen recently?
Relationships are far more important than ever before. As a broker, we really need long-term relationships with our insurer partners that we know are going to be in the market long-term, not just when it's profitable and they're making good money, but also in the times when the market does turn. Our clients, when we place with an insurer, we want them to be there for the long term, not just 1 year and move. And it's all about added value and stuff. So the more added value we can give to our clients and through the partnership, it needs to be a triangular relationship between the insurer, the broker, and the client. That's what they really buy into.
And obviously you guys work together very closely, probably on a day-to-day basis. What would you say a good partnership looks like between Markel and a broker at the moment?
Well, from my point of view, it's very much about trust between us as individuals, but trust between our companies. And we will hold each other to account, and we will challenge each other, making sure that when we say we're going to do something, we do it. And it's about that delivery. It's about regular contact, regular dialogue, and also when things aren't quite going as they should be, we don't hide. We talk about it. We discuss it. We might not always agree, but at the end of the day, we come out and we understand that the relationship is stronger than just one maybe minor issue that we need to resolve.
And Marie, have you got an example of something like that we've been working on at the moment?
There's many examples where there may be a challenge, and Pete knows he can pick up the phone to me, I'll answer, I'll get on it, and vice versa. And I think that really is one of the most key things in our relationship.
Yeah, I think some of the things where we do see some challenges is with the current market conditions. On when you've got large clients and you're under competition from other brokers, we need the support of insurers, Markel, to help us retain that. And that might be pushing Markel and the underwriters out of their comfort zone to do what they need to do it. But we, working together, often retain that client. They see the value and that longevity of the relationship.
I would just add to that as you said, around the market, we really depend on our brokers, our partners, to keep us abreast of what's happening in the market as well, because they're seeing it firsthand, experiencing it firsthand, and for them to actually bring that back to us so that we can react in a positive way to assist in all the things that Pete's just said there.
Yeah, for sure. And to be honest, you've led on really nicely to what one of my next questions was going to be. So obviously we're on a huge recruitment drive as an industry to try and get the younger generations joining insurance. What would you say is one of the most important things that you would give as advice for people who are joining, and especially around partnerships?
I think the key advice I'd give, especially to younger people that are looking and starting out in a career, that insurance is a really good career. It's not dull and boring as everybody thinks. A lot of people just fall into insurance rather than actively go. So we've always had to compete against banking, accountancy, and other professions. But I've worked in the industry 30 odd years, and it's been a fantastic career. There's lots of things I never dreamed I'd be able to do, and a part of that is there are so many diverse roles, and within that it's being part of a team, working partnerships, and in our role there's partnerships with insurers are really, really key, and it's exciting. You meet new people all the time, which is really, really good.
Amazing. And Marie, what about you?
Yeah, so I think there are so many routes to go in within our industry, but relationship and distribution is a brilliant space within the industry to be a part of.
And in your wider conversations, what do you think brokers think of when they think of Markel? And then we'll come to you in a minute, Pete.
So I think they think niche insurer, specialism, specialty, a company that's growing, a company that's got ambition, trustworthy, brilliant claims.
And would you agree?
Yeah, I think an insurer that is specialist but an expert in the fields they play in. They've got that knowledge, backed up by good claim service, because at the end of the day, that's what our customers are paying for.
What they're buying, right?
It's the transfer of the risk for when something goes wrong, that the insurer's there to support them.
Yeah.
Markel. And longevity, you're not known as an insurer that tips your toe in the market, and then when things get tough, you disappear. You're in for the long journey.
I suppose a great example of that was probably our relationship with you guys on Care.
Yeah.
Have you got anything that you can talk about that?
I think you guys really stepped up at a difficult time. Most insurers, on the back of what happened with COVID, exited the market. You didn't.
Yeah.
You saw an opportunity to work with us in partnership. You listened to what us as experts in the market had, along with yourselves, and we worked through it. And it is a very good and successful long-term relationship.
Yeah, amazing. And on that note, obviously we've got crazy ambitions heading towards 2030, as is the whole market. Like, what's next? What's next for Everywhen? What's next for our partnership together?
Yeah, I think challenges we have is making sure we do everything for our clients and retain clients. Try and get the narrative away from just price.
Yeah.
It's that added value piece, and clients seeing us as their risk advisor and helping them protect their assets, not, I need insurance and I just need to get it as cheap as possible.
Yeah.
We will continue to grow organically.
And then Marie, from the inside of you, from Markel.
Well, I would say just from a relationship perspective, I think for the future it's about building on what we do really well together.
Yeah.
But also looking for new opportunities. So looking at that long-term view, how we continue doing what we're doing, but also what are the quick wins that we can execute together as well, just to collaborate and for us to continue on our successful relationship and continue to build that.
Yeah, amazing.
I think the only thing I would say is, don't, as Markel as a company, don't forget where you've come and why you've been successful.
Yeah.
As you move into new areas, it's how you can bring that success into those areas.
Whilst our ambition is to write new products and to grow in other areas, it's always still to very much be the expert and to have specialism in those areas too.